What motivates you?
I don't care if I live or die.
Hey cousin, it is Roman. Let's go bowling. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience with the Grand Theft Auto series over the years. I'm going to talk about some of my personal favorites, some of what got me introduced to the series, and the games that I completely snubbed, that I was a snob to. So let's just start back in the beginning where it all began. Grand Theft Auto 1, Grand Theft Auto 2, the early games in the mid to late 90s. I played them on computer a lot in high school, in electronics class and in the library. Somehow these games, people must have just installed them. I don't know. I let other people do it. I just played the games. Now, my early impressions of the early Grand Theft Autos with the top-down view, the funnest part was just driving around, dealing with all the carnage, getting 4 or 5 stars, and just going nuts. I always loved all the different vehicles. Now, they never had the real names, and they still don't today in GTA 5. And whatever, it's fine. We know what they look like. You can spot the cars and you pick your favorites, and it's just fun to cruise around. The top-down view, mind you, it's not technically isometric, it's specifically top-down view, made the driving very difficult. There's no question about it. But it was still very fun, and at the time, it was the most realistic way to execute this game. Now, the tiny, wee little sprite that you would play as was far too small. Running around was pretty bad. The aiming and shooting wasn't the best. I'm sure there's some people out there that are amazing at it, but we pretty much sucked. You know, we did try to beat some of the missions, and we did. A lot of us did get pretty far, taking turns, all in class too. We had a teacher who just let us play it. Like, talk about some good times playing Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2 back in the day in school, of all things, being allowed by your teacher. But again, fun. It was a novelty. It was no Metal Gear Solid. It was no Symphony of the Night. It was no Mario 64. It was no Mario Kart. It wasn't as good as the big games that were out at the time, even that Crash Bandicoot, some of the Dreamcast stuff like Soul Calibur and Crazy Taxi. It just didn't have that look or feel that really kind of caught your eyes back then. But it was still really cool to play a game that was that violent. And just that open world. It was a really new concept to a lot of us, and it left its mark. Now, moving into the PS2 era would come the real success, the boom of the series, the launch into third-person mode in a real 3D world environment with 3 Vice City, and basically the general consensus is that the greatest GTA of all time is San Andreas. I cannot give an opinion on these 3 games as I have never played them. However, I have played them enough back in the day that I snubbed them. The reason I snubbed them and was a snob and turned my nose up to them is compared to games like Resident Evil 4 and many other games with great control at that time, like Metroid Prime, for example. The controls were very clunky, stiff, and awkward, and choppy, and the game was very glitchy, all 3 of them. And I just basically said, and I said this was a quote from me back in the day. Now, whether I'm wrong, whether I'm right, you guys let me know. An interesting thing about this is, as San Andreas is generally considered the best GTA of all time, I've heard more recently, in the past 2-3 years, people on YouTube and some people even in the real world come to me and say, damn, I went back and played San Andreas, and it wasn't as good as I remembered. It was really awkward, the controls were really stiff and clunky, and the driving wasn't even very good. All the things that I snubbed and all the reasons I chose not to play these games. I compared them to things like Prince of Persia: The Warrior Within with super tight controls. Mind you, very different games. My thing was, though, I said, when GTA games get controls that are precise and good, and they sharpen up the graphics a little bit, I will take a big interest. Which brings us, to my opinion, the greatest Grand Theft Auto of all time, GTA 4, starring Niko Bellic, the Eastern European, as they so put it. Come on, they can't have real cars, they're not going to use real nationalities. Niko Bellic for sure has to be Russian. With all the Russian immigrants in New York and in Brooklyn specifically, where the game starts off, maybe it's Eastern European, I don't know, but I always got the idea that he was Russian. It doesn't really matter which ethnicity his background was. To me, he is the most engaging, likable character in all the games, hands down, bar none. Even his obnoxious cousin Roman is very likable. Now, when I started this game off, I didn't really like Nico all that much. I found him very dry, very boring. I felt he lacked personality, but they did that on purpose. And they did that because everyone around these characters in GTA 5, episodes of Liberty City, the main character is always the smart one, the calm one, the one who pays attention, listens more than he talks. And everyone around him is just an energetic psycho, like Trevor. Trevor's a great example. Now, I'm not going to get into GTA 5 just yet, but Trevor is that crazy character. Very much so like Michael, another lunatic. But in GTA 5, the normal one, the one that would be the most identified or most relatable to Nico Bellic would be Franklin. He's the more level-headed, calm one, not so, loose cannon, insane, like Nico. Nico, though, is by far the best. Definitely. And he would just grow on me the more and more I would play this game. Now, let's talk about a few things that make this game so great and why I separate it from the rest of the GTA games. Guess that'll be the last time I rotate it. I showed all three of them. 91 missions, maybe 94. I don't remember the specific number, but as far as these games go, hands down, the most missions. And I'm pretty sure as far as missions go, it has to be the biggest GTA game ever made. And for me, sometimes less is more. In a game like GTA, you kind of want more. When you start to realize you're in that late stage of the game, in that 80, 85, 90% of the game, and you realize it's coming to an end, and you've done a lot of the side shit as well, you're like, damn, I want more. Well, a game like GTA 4 gives it to you with 90 plus missions. That's not the only thing that makes this game the best. It's physics when driving. The way you would crash through the windshield. Everything was very realistic in the suspension when driving and turning. And it made a lot of the missions very hard. Because going at high speeds, the driving was that much more realistic, which meant driving fast and catching people made the missions that much harder. And for me, I enjoyed that difficulty spike. Now, I will segue a little bit to GTA 5, PS3, PS4. They made the driving more cartoony, more arcade style, and though I love it, and it's a lot of fun, they took away the crashing and flying through the windshield. Why? Because, well, they had to start holding people's hands and carrying them through the games. A lot of people were a bit turned off by this game at the time, even though in 24 hours it sold 3.6 million copies. In 24 hours, it sold 3.6 million copies. This is one of the high-selling video games of all time, so it definitely crushed and holds its place as the best GTA, and I'll explain why it's the best GTA. Campaign-wise, 4. 4 is the best campaign game in my opinion. Again, what's your opinion? Jump in the comments and let me know as always, guys. This is a lot to talk about here, and I'm sure you guys have a lot of opinions on these games and which one's your favorite and why. Brucey, Bull Shark Testosterone. Again, one of those off-the-wall crazy characters like Trevor. A bit of a bitch, honestly. That's why he takes Bull Shark Testosterone. Juice Monkey Brucey, funny character. You go through all the different places. Let's start talking about Liberty City first and foremost. Better than Los Santos, in my opinion. And no stab to LA, but the Big Apple, New York, baby, is always cooler than LA. Let's face it, Spider-Man, Iron Man, the Ninja Turtles, Macaulay Culkin, Home Alone. Everything takes place in the Big Apple. In New York. Even in GTA, it's the bomb. No, driving through the big city. The downtown core in the Manhattan region of this game just makes it that much more exciting. That much better than the small downtown in Los Santos. And the thing is that these are modeled after the actual cities. So in reality, West Coast cities don't rock big skylines. That's an East Coast thing, but I am a big fan of skylines and I'm a big fan of big cities, the concrete jungle, and there's no better than the Big Apple. There's no better than Liberty City. Granted, this map in GTA 5 is way bigger. One thing they went and did so much better in GTA 5 is they gave us countryside. There is technically a small portion of New Jersey in this game, but I would have liked a little bit more Long Island, maybe a little more upstate New York. For real, I would have. It makes me want to just instantly segue into when is GTA 6 coming out? This game 5 was released in, I think, 2014. Damn, dude. I know it's a big game, and I'd rather it done correctly instead of them rush it. Because I know when GTA 6 finally gets here, and even gets announced for that matter, it's going to be groundbreaking. I literally hope it consists of like the ability to at least fly to, say, Miami, San Francisco, Vegas, New York, or if they just crushed it down into one map, making it a small America. Because these maps, like San Andreas, is modeled after California and the surrounding region. The Grand Sonora Desert is an actual place. That's not its name, but that area and the way they modeled it is identical to a real-life location. Now, that's something that was missing in this map. Again, with newer games brings bigger, badder-ass maps. And I look forward to GTA 6's humongous map that will dwarf this one for sure on the PS5. But let's talk about one of the most underrated GTAs ever, in my opinion. And as far as campaigns go, I think I put the Ballad of Gay Tony even above GTA 5. So before I talk about the Ballad of Gay Tony, let me talk about why I think GTA 5's campaign finishes third in this list of 4 games, by the way. Now, the campaign in GTA 5 is really good. It is. It's cool that you get to play with 3 characters. Michael, Trevor Phillip Industries, and Franklin. That's a cool concept. And I hope with GTA 6 they reduce it to 2. Because like I said before, sometimes less is more. 3 was a bit too much, in my opinion, in this game. And it took away from the character growth and the bond you have with the character, like solely playing with Nico Bellic or Luis Lopez. It's been a long time since I played the Ballad of Gay Tony, but I really liked Lopez. And he's actually in this game too. It's really neat how there's some crossovers between these games. Minor, but still it exists. It is a really nice blend. So let's just talk about the Ballad of Gay Tony quick. What makes the Ballad of Gay Tony so awesome? Just a different dynamic. What it did was, in a game as amazing as this, and the city as big and badass as it is, a whole other story was going on at the exact same time. 2 of them, in fact. Lost in the Dam. We'll get to that in a bit. How are we doing for time, guys? It's going to be a long one. We're talking about GTAs. It should be long. Ballad of Gay Tony, Lopez, great character, great missions, and relatively long considering it was considered DLC at one point in time before the physical copy. I was not going to get the DLC. I had to have the physical copy of this game. Like, it's 2 legit games. Mind you, The Last in the Dam is a pretty small game and definitely is the crappiest amongst everything I have on display here. But it was still a really great game. I loved the biker concept, and I loved a lot of the biker missions. It was actually, it's still very underrated. It just lives in the shadow of Ballad of Gay Tony. I can't quite put my finger on what makes the Ballad of Gay Tony so good, but there was just something great about it. Going to the nightclub was really cool too. It just added this getting out, like you felt like you were a character that had a life and had things to do. Nico, you could go bowling, you could play pool with Cousin and little Jacob. And, you know, he had friends, he had a clique, he had a crew, he had Brucey. They had places to go. There was a lot of things to do in this game that you can't do in GTA 5. And that's another one of the reasons this game's so awesome. But you could do a lot of those in this game as well, including the nightclub that you ran and just, you know, worked with Tony. I don't know, man. Again, I can't put my finger on what makes the Ballad of Gay Tony so awesome, but if you've never played it, play it. Definitely. It's just a great GTA game. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about the Lost in the Dam story. You know, there was something missing about it. The character, there was this, I'll call him the co-star, if you will, the NPC, the non-playable biker guy. He was almost kind of more intimidating, again, more crazy, like Michael. As a lot of the surrounding characters are always more nutty. Now, I can't remember the name of the guy you play as in The Lost in the Dam, but he was pretty cool. And to be honest, when he got killed in GTA 5, there was a little piece of me that was like, it didn't sit well with me because he wasn't a bitch. And honestly, Trevor, crazy or not, sure. Physically, I don't think Trevor has the physical stature to just own him the way they did in GTA 5. I think that bothered a lot of people, but they did that to show Trevor's psychoness, his unpredictability, And I guess maybe his toughness. But the thing is, he just cheap shot him and stomped him. He just straight up murdered his ass and caught him off guard. So tough or not, Trevor's just a psycho who just fucking snapped like that. And as much as I do enjoy Trevor's character, I also hate Trevor as well. And I hate that they took our boy from the Lost and Damned out like that. So anyways, guys, so I'm going to move on from the Lost and the Damned. It is a cool additional GTA game. Of these four, it's obviously the last. Campaign-wise, again, second place goes to Ballad of Gay Tony. Campaign-wise, number 1 goes to number 4. And number 5 will sit comfortably in third place. Again, some of the missions, especially unfortunately in the early and middle stages, where you should probably want to entice a person and get them excited to play the game, there was a lot of boring, slow-paced missions that I noticed turned a lot of my friends off. Now, myself, a guy who persists and gets through games, I did push myself through some, I felt like I was pushing myself through some missions in this game. It has about 78 of them, so it's still quite big. But when you consider it has 78 with 3 people, and this one has 91 to 94 with 1 person, think about that. You're doing a whole lot more time with Nico. You split that up between 3 guys, you don't have that character build that you have in this game. But, campaign put aside, number 1. The best game of the bunch is GTA 5. The reason GTA 5 is so fantastic, that online. I can still play it today. It's lost its luster, it's lost its charm. It doesn't have the addictiveness that it did 4, 5, 6 years ago. But I can honestly say that I played GTA 5 on both 3 and 4 an excessive amount of days. Now, the fun thing is that I played both of these with my buddy, and we would just take turns. Go online, I play for 40 minutes, even 20 minutes. Hand him the controller, he'd play for 40. We'd go around online fighting people, doing heists, races galore. Don't even get me started about the track editor in GTA 5. It's excellent. The hours spent making me feel like a low-level programmer gave me that false sense of it gave me that false sense of being a developer for a day, creating the tracks, taking the time to learn the track editor was just amazing, because I actually went above and beyond and did mazes and stuff, because with all the pieces, you can start doing other things and think outside the box. The track editor, so much fun. So many hours spent with my buddy, just blazing, late night chilling, building tracks, getting the community together and playing the tracks. Now, it was always difficult to generate races. There are many flaws about the online. Sometimes it takes too long to build a lobby, but we found our little tricks of the trade to get lobbies to fill up. And I've made over 40 tracks that I've put in several hours in. Some that I chopped up in 20 minutes. Some that I've spent literally over a day just, I'd build it, I'd spend 4 hours. I'd come back 2 days later, start fine-tuning it even more. Come back another day, start fine-tuning it even more. My buddy would come back after a week not chilling and hanging out. He'd play the track and be like, oh, you put some time into it. Oh, look at the changes. And just really polishing the tracks as a whole. And he made a whole bunch himself as well. I had one track that ended up getting over 30,000 plays, which for me is bigger and badder than any video I've ever made. For me to think that over 30,000 people played one of my tracks, let alone my other 40 equaling a total over 150,000. But that one track that I think was around 33,000, it just lets me know that that many people in the world played my track. And when I saw people hit that replay button, it was really satisfying to know that people would play that and be like, bam, instantly. Some people would hit the thumbs down and go to next course, and that always drove me crazy. But believe it or not, because it was a new experience for a lot of people, most people would smash that thumbs up to replay the track. And that always made me and my buddy happy because, well, we had an edge up. We made the tracks, so we had an advantage, which led to a lot of victories and a lot of money being made. But GTA 5 offers so much. Jumping over the fence into the airport, not the airport, the army base, grabbing the jet and flying away, shooting the choppers, shooting the cop cars. We just sometimes we would just get baked and see how many cop cars we could blow up before being taken down or just general malfunction. We would attempt to fly through bridges in the smallest spaces. Then there's the Segway tracks where you can transform, and we would build these as well. Now, It's infinite, the amount of things you can do in this game, really, with your imagination. One of the funny, I'm going to share this story. This is a great story. My buddy added his nephew to the game. His nephew was like 11. Now I said, I think he's a little young to play this game. He goes, don't worry. He never plays the campaign, which is very adult. He goes, all he does is play with his buddies. They hop on ATVs and cruise around the beach. So we got into a match with him, and we noticed him on the map, and he didn't know it was his uncle, right? But his uncle knew because he's older. He saw his name. I was playing with my username. So the kid wasn't aware that his uncle was chasing him. And you could just see him going crazy all over the place. And then next day he went home and said to him, he said, hey, was some guy chasing you down the beach all across the highway? Some guy kept coming for you on a big airplane, F-16. He's like, yeah, the guy was driving us nuts, blowing up me and my friends. Now, my buddy had fun stalking them and chasing them down and making them panic and run. He did take them out a few times, because the best thing about it is you just respawn, you come back. Again, we had the advantage of winning lots of races and making big money, making bets. There was the whole modding thing where people would just drop cash. And shout out to Viper and the Unstoppable. I remember he tried to avoid that because it does essentially ruin the experience. Now, me and my buddy felt very much the same way. We didn't want the money drop. Now, there was a point where money drops were almost unavoidable. And I tried explaining to Viper in that once you get past the idea of ruining the online experience, it's worth it. Because if you want to have a real experience, play the campaign of the game. A lot of people don't see it through. Kind of like Call of Duties. They buy it to play online, but they never see the campaign through. So if you want the real experience of GTA 5, play the campaign. The online takes way too long to build up stuff, and there will always be hundreds of people with more guns, more ammo, better cars. So when you get that money drop, or win races like we did, it's cool to get a hotel. Actually, I started fresh. My current save file only has a garage with mint cars. At one time, me and my buddy, you can have multiple locations. I gave him one, we shared a garage, and I had another apartment. And it was just really cool. One of the things I would love to see in GTA 6 is the ability to bring more people than one person to your pad. You can go online and I think bring one person into your pad. I can't remember. But I don't recall that you can throw a party. Why can't I have, say, 10 of my YouTube friends and say GTA 6, drive around, blow shit up, and then if I have the big cool apartment because I put in a lot of time with the game. And one cool thing about GTA 5 is showing off your cars. Everyone loves to show off their garage. And I love to show off my garage. I got some beauties. I have an F1 car. And all legit, too. This is a legit file, too. My old one I deleted because I get what Viper's saying. There is something about somebody dumping infinite amount of money and you lose pride in what you can buy. When you actually earn the cash to buy a great car, then earn the cash to soup it up, earn the cash to buy your own place, you do take a little more pride in what you created in the game. And that's the save file I have now online, a legit file. But we had fun with the money drops. We bought tanks and everything. Anyways, guys, we're pushing 23 minutes and it's not a second wasted because this series honestly deserves another 2 hours. These are infinitely huge sandbox games that have such attention to detail, so much thought, care, passion, and effort put into each and every single one of them. I'm just going to close and digress and say, guys, jump in the comments. Let me know your favorite GTA, even if it's one of the 3 I snubbed. Let me know if it's one of those early ones, GTA 1, 2, and the UK edition. Is 4 the best to you? And before I dip out and say goodbye, I'm going to share a quick little story about this. Remember walking into an EB Games, electronic boutique as we used to call them up in Canada, and they had stacks of these. I used to walk in, I'd say, can I have one of those? No, sorry sir, we can't give those out. Go to another location and say, hey man, sorry to bother you, but I see you got like 30 of those things. Can I have one? No sir, those are not for sale, we can't give them away, nothing. I'm like, even if I give you 20 bucks? For some reason I just wanted it. No, I went around to like 10 locations. Nobody would give them to me. I finally went to this one location. And this girl, she's like, I get people asking me all the time. I said, I've gone to like 15, 20 locations. She goes, take it. It's yours. And I don't know why. I loved it. I walked out. I was just like, fuck yeah, you know, and I'm going to hold on to this thing for a long time. I hope one day it increases in value because weird video game stuff does. It's weird to think that maybe a cardboard box could actually end up having some value. But I don't know. It's bigger than I remember because I keep it in a closet. There's nowhere for me to put this giant thing on display. It's ridiculous, you know. I love that it has all the pictures. What's on the bottom? Just there you go. Anyways, guys, like I said, amazing series. Look forward to the 6th game whenever the hell that's going to come out. But again, thank you very much for watching, guys. Until next time, keep it modern gaming.